So you guys probably have some fish at your house and you want to feed them the best food possible, and maybe, flake food, it's expensive, it goes quick. Well, today I got some solutions for you. We're going to be talking about live foods. Now, shrimp, live food, pet, both, I don't know. We're going to get into that topic today. We're also going to be talking about Daphnia, bladder snails, and scuds. So 4 things that would be great live foods or not, I don't know. We'll see here just shortly. What is going on, all you aquarium keepers out there? Today we are talking about live foods. We are in what I consider our new improved pond room. This is a room with, I always forget the number, but it's about 40-ish ponds. Now, by ponds, I mean IBC totes. These are 275-gallon IBC totes. We cut them down. We stock about 180 gallons of water in it. These guys are perfect if you want to ramp up some production, breed some things outside, do some things in your basement like us. I don't know. I don't know what kind of hobbyist you are, but if you're like me, you might get to this point. And so today, everything that we're talking about is in this room in one fashion or another. And so we're going to talk about symbiotic relationships. We're going to talk about live foods, what you should feed, the risks of feeding live food. So we're going all through it. Now, if you guys have been a follower of the channel for a long time, you will know that normally on Saturdays, we do what's called a shrimp Saturday. And we're still going to continue doing that, but it might not be every week. It might be every other week. It might be a little bit more scattered. We want to start including more fish-related content, some snail, plant, different things like that. And so today is all about live foods, which still could qualify as a Shrimp Saturday because shrimp can be considered a live food. We're going to talk about that, whether it's ethical, feeding live foods, is that ethical, the risk, everything. So without further ado, let's get right into today's video. Check out this pond. This is actually one of the best examples that we have here at Flipaquatics because it has 3 of the 4 things that we're going to talk about. The first thing you see, like all over, is Daphnia. Daphnia is everywhere. Now, we do not feed this tank like it has Daphnia in it. We feed it specifically for the shrimp. So these are red cherry shrimp. These are also breeding in here. We also have bladder snails in here, and it doesn't have to be bladder snails. It could be any type of pest snail. So you could do ram's horn snails. You could do a lot of different types, but specifically in this pond, we have bladder snails. And so it's really interesting how this is a very good symbiotic relationship. You have the Daphnia that keeps the water crystal clear. You have the shrimp, which just are in here. They multiply, they breed. You could have some live plants in here if you wanted to quadruple dip on what you're producing out of here. And then you have the snails, and the snails will cut down on the algae. So here's what we do. We overfeed this pond. The overfeeding makes sure that the shrimp get the food that they need. The snails clean up the rest. The snails kind of balance out the population. And then these ponds are near our normal Daphnia ponds. And so they get 24/7 light, which leads to Daphnia just automatically repopulating here, which is super interesting. We don't have cloudy water, it's crystal clear, yet these Daphnia have been thriving in here for probably upwards of a year. We do nothing to sustain their population, it just naturally happens. And so I think one of the most important questions to answer right off the bat, is it ethical to feed live animals? I mean, that is a very interesting question. There's a lot of people that will feed goldfish, they'll feed crayfish, they'll turn it into kind of like, I'm gonna film this video of this thing getting eaten. I don't like that content, I don't enjoy it, I don't like publicizing it. And so for those reasons, I think it's not good. But in this sense, where you are sustaining your own live food, maybe trying to cut down on your fish bill or your fish food bill, maybe you're trying to get more picky species to eat. You got pea puffers, you got scarlet batis, you got a lot of very picky eaters that Daphnia or bladder snails or baby shrimp could be a really, really good source of food for. So the other thing that we haven't talked about yet, and the reason they're not in here, we'll get to, but is scuds. Scuds are also a super easy live food culture that you can culture. they outcompete shrimp, so we don't keep them with shrimp. So if we didn't have shrimp in here, they would actually do well. But we don't ever cross our shrimp with scuds just because scuds will outcompete them. So is it ethical? I believe yes. In a lot of situations, it makes a lot of sense. It's very natural. It's the way that it was intended. And so in that sense, it's really good. I just don't like the sense of animals suffering or using them as a publicity stunt to get views or anything like that. So that's why I don't like it. We feed a lot of Daphnia here at flipaquatics. It's a food source that you can add to a tank that isn't gonna go bad. Same thing with the bladder snails, same thing with the shrimp. You can put it in there, and if you overfeed, they just live in the aquarium until they're eaten. And so I really, really like live foods. The second question that I really want to address, because I think it is a valid concern, is bacterial infections introducing new parasites, new diseases, things like that. Absolutely, that is a concern that you should have. If you have a Daphnia colony outside in the elements where things can get into the water, mosquito larvae, things like that, most of the time it's gonna be fine, but you do run the risk of something getting into that food supply, you introducing that to your tank, causing parasites and diseases, things like that in your fish. If you're culturing it inside, if you have a clean source and you know what you're feeding it, you know what you're taking care of it, you're not adding anything new to it, then you can be very confident that what you have is a good source. So for us, I know what we have, nothing new gets introduced to it on a frequent basis. Maybe once a month, we might get new shrimp if we sell all these ones, or once every, actually it's probably once a quarter. And so that's the only time that then we go through an antibiotic, we treat it, we make sure it's healthy, and then boom, we're good to go. So there is a slight risk there as far as introducing something new, but you can negate that by keeping it indoors and controlling the whole process of how it reproduces and stuff like that. So let's get into the individual types and how they could benefit you. So let's first start on my favorite. Now, there's a couple things going on in this pond. One, there's no air running right now because we have it off. But this is actually a pond that we do not use air on. So this one never gets air. It's always like this. We do a water change basically once every 2 weeks. It's just a flow through water change. And we've talked about this, and we have very specific videos on Daphnia. So you guys can look those up on our channel and find them. But we'll just turn on our regular water. This is tap water. It's filtered, it has no chlorine in it. It's good to go. And we'll just run that for 24 hours. And that's how we do water changes. But that's about once a week. This pond, I would guess, has tens of thousands of Daphnia in it. This is the one that feeds our entire fish room. We use it all the time. We sell out of it. This is our number one. Everything else is basically backup. So in this one, we're specifically breeding ram's horn snails. And we also have, I forget the type of shrimp, but there is a shrimp in here and they do pretty well. Also, we have duckweed. So another thing that you can introduce is a floating plant if you want to multiply it. A lot of people use duckweed for goldfish and making shrimp food, things like that. So there is a lot of multiple purposes, but this colony has been set up for about 3 months now. It's been running very consistent. It started off a little slow. The big thing with Daphnia, 24/7 lights is what they really need to thrive. And then the other big thing that they need is they need a good food source. So we have our own food brand that we've been feeding to our Daphnia for a long time. Just in the last year, we transitioned to actually selling it because it was something that we just always made for ourselves. And so you guys can find that on our website. It's Food for Daphnia. It's a shrimple brand, and it is a really good thing. In no way is this a sales pitch for it. It's just what we use. And then we feed that to get the water cloudy. So you can see this has like a murky tone to it. As soon as we can actually see the bottom pretty well, then we will refeed it. And then you just have to gauge, how big your population is, how much water volume you're using. Again, we have a whole video dedicated to Daphnia. You can look that up on our channel. Go to flipaquatics on YouTube is the best place to find it, and you can research it there. So that's Daphnia. Let's move on to shrimp and how you could breed those and if it's worth it and what that looks like. So with shrimp, we aren't actually trying to breed them, at least not to scale. They do breed because shrimp just breed. And so our setups really aren't geared to shrimp breeding, but like in this pond, this is orange rillies. We put them in here. We don't sell orange rillies a ton. They're not as popular of a shrimp just because they're more expensive. And so without us being in here, a lot of the babies tend to grow up and get bigger. And that's because in our normal systems, we'll actually like net them out, we'll salt dip them, we'll inspect them for parasites. And the babies end up getting caught during that process. They don't like being salt dipped. They end up, you know, not making it and things like that. And so we do our best to prevent them from getting caught, but it does happen. And so tanks that we catch more regularly out of, they tend to not produce as much. This is one that they're producing like crazy. And so the good thing about shrimp is, for the most part, they're really easy to produce. This pond has a sponge filter in it, nothing else, bare bottom. It is like the most basic setup ever. We feed it, we do water changes on it, and that's it. And there are hundreds of babies in there. So that does mean that shrimp could be a sustainable food. I don't think it's the best option because Daphnia, you could have 100 Daphnia one week and have literally thousands the next week. Like, they just multiply so fast. These aren't that way, and so it's a little bit slower, but shrimp would be a really good food source for something that is a picky eater, but also they're not gonna eat the adults. So like scarlet batis would be a really good example. They're not really gonna pick on the adults because the adults are bigger than them. They might like, you know, be mean to them, but they're not gonna eat them. And so you put 10 shrimp in there, you let them breed. As soon as they have babies, now the scarlet batis has a natural food source that's in their tank that they can hunt, find, eat, and do really well with. And then they're not gonna get them all, so then it's kind of like a sustaining population that naturally feeds, so like an ecosystem. So that's where I think this would be good. Although, you know, I'm a shrimp lover, so I don't like doing that because I actually want to breed the shrimp. I want them to grow out. I want to be able to, you know, sell them and share them with the hobby. And so for me, this option really doesn't make as much sense, but I do see how it could work for a lot of people. Another option would be like, you know, if you have a more predatory fish, having guppies in your tank. This is a little bonus. This is one that we're not talking about really today. But guppies just pump out babies. They might eat their own babies, but they also might just have a bunch of babies in the tank, and then that provides a natural food source too. So kind of the same philosophy, but with shrimp. And so I do think it's something important to talk about, that it is an option, although I don't think it's the best option. Next up is the one that we really haven't touched on yet, and that is scuds. So this pond is our main colony of scuds. There's, I don't even know, maybe 500 in here. So scuds, think of them as micro shrimp. They look like, if you've ever seen like the roly-polies, potato bugs, isopods, whatever you want to call them, if you've ever seen those, scuds are pretty much that, but the aquatic form. Slightly more creepy because they got long legs and they scurry about. They're a lot quicker than roly-polies, so they're a little creepier for me. We do have shrimp in here with them. They will outcompete the shrimp. They will eat decaying plant matter. They will eat pretty much anything you throw in there. They're like the garbage disposal of aquariums. So they are good for keeping a tank clean, although the nastier it is, the more they're gonna breed. So these guys breed pretty quickly as well. Not as fast as Daphnia, so not the best thing, but they do get pretty, like they get pretty hefty, so they could feed more things that are a little bit larger. So like maybe like your platies, your mollies, things that size, gouramis. They would do really well with these. Obviously the babies you could feed to anything, but definitely another option. I'll take you to another place where we breed these. We actually have 3 locations. One's right behind M, so I'll actually walk over here because I personally haven't checked on this pond in a little while. So I'm curious to see how it's doing, because this is kind of like our backup colony. And like, yeah, I don't see a ton. The other thing is scuds, what we usually experience with them is, because you have to feed them so heavy, is you end up having planaria, because planaria thrives in bad environments, overfeeding. Like that's where planaria really grows. And so like looking in this pond, I see a decent amount of planaria. I see a decent amount of scuds. Like, you know, there's a decent amount. And surprisingly, guess what? We have Daphnia in here as well. And so, yeah, so these are 2 like main colonies, but I have one more that is in a 40-gallon tank that will give you a better snapshot of like what a breeding tank would look like for you guys. So here is a 40-gallon tank. We got a bunch of duckweed in there. This tank is like nasty. There's tons of mulm on the bottom. And this one has so many babies. So you can see like the micro babies, which are I don't even know. Like they're smaller than like, if you guys have ever seen springtails, I would say they're about the size of a springtail. And then the bigger ones are like the size of, I don't know, the tip of an eraser. Like they get pretty big. And so this one right here, like just on the front panel, I probably see 100 scuds. We also got bladder snails in there. We got ram's horn snails. And this is just crazy. And so this is one we don't really have to overfeed too much. A lot of the plant matter that's dying in there, they'll eat that. And so guys, they are pretty easy. You can have a tank like this and you can produce, I don't know, probably a few hundred scuds per month. If you're needing a huge population, that's where I would highly recommend Daphnia, because, you know, in a tank like this, you can produce thousands of Daphnia every single month and literally feed your whole fish room off Daphnia. So Daphnia is always going to be my #1 live food, but there are other exceptions. And so since we're here and we're talking about bladder snails, a lot of people look at bladder snails, pest snails as like, oh my gosh, they're so bad. But really, they're very beneficial. They're like the algae of the plant world. So like people look at them as like, oh, I don't want them because who wants algae? But what they are is they're nature's equalizers. So like the more you overfeed, the more leftover food you're gonna have, the more waste you're gonna have, your ammonia is gonna spike, your nitrates are gonna spike, like you're gonna have all these issues. Snails solve that. The more you feed, the more they're gonna reproduce, the more they're gonna eat the leftover food. And so if you're having an outbreak of snails, most likely means that you're doing things wrong. You're actually feeding too much. You're doing, you know, more than you should, and they're trying to balance that out. So if your snail population is dwindling, it means that you're actually feeding not enough for them to, you know, take that on. And that's probably a good thing if you don't want snails. So if you have a snail population, you don't want them, you're overfeeding too much. You're doing it, it's just not good. And so these guys are really good for us because they breed so easy. And the same thing, the babies are about the size of a springtail, maybe slightly bigger than a springtail. And if you guys don't know what a springtail is, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to Google it and might insert a picture. And it's like, you know, this tiny little thing, like the dot on my nose, maybe even smaller, I don't know. But anyway, they're really, really small. And pea puffers are notoriously tough to get to eat. We sell a ton of pea puffers. And so bladder snails are perfect for them because you can put 10 adult bladder snails in with the pea puffers. The pea puffers probably won't touch the adults, but as soon as their eggs hatch, pea puffers, all you can eat buffet, love it, so happy. And so it's really a great symbiotic relationship. And so that's what I recommend. So those are the 4 types of live foods that I think you guys could really benefit from. With all that being said, I want to know, based on the we'll say 4.5 because I mentioned feeder guppies, out of all of that, which one for you guys is the most appealing, or the one that you think, hey, if I did go with one of those, this is the one that I would go with? Because I'm just curious. I know I'm a lover of Daphnia. I think it's by far the best, but I'm curious what you guys think, being home hobbyists, just everyday aquarists, what you think out of those 4.5, which one you'd prefer. Let me know down below. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday to be a part of our Shrimp Saturday, aka just another video here at Flipaquatics, where we hopefully get to educate you guys on something you don't know, or at least give you a new perspective. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, God bless. We'll catch you on the flip side. For more unhinged content, consider joining our Aquarium Club by hitting the join button. As a member, you'll get perks like weekly members-only videos dropping every single Friday. And let me just tell you, those are unhinged. Monthly discounts. Every single month, you get 10 to 20% off our website. We have exclusive Discord channels for you all, monthly Aquarium Club meetings, and exclusive in-depth educational content, like one of my favorite series, Get Equipped with Flip, where we invite experts in the aquarium hobby to come on and teach us about specific topics. Listen, guys, what are you waiting for? Hit that join button and become a part of our Flipaquatics family.